Hello and welcome to Recyclist. Once again, I'm your host, Eric Provost, and once again, I am being joined by the Solid Waste Association of North America's Chief Executive Officer, Amy Lestition Burke, who is joining the show for the third time, our first ever three-time guest.
Whoa.
I'm so sorry I don't have a commemorative gift for this occasion, but welcome back to Recyclist, Amy.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I can't believe it's been 3 times. This is fantastic. We always usually end with more to talk about, so I'm glad we're back together again.
Yeah, I recently spoke with Kristen Oldendorf,
Yeah.
and we touched on a lot of topics going on within the world of the Solid Waste Association of North America. Check out swana.org and my previous interview with her for all the goings on from that interview. But just like you said, there's certainly a lot more to talk about, a veritable cavalcade of events and current goings on within Swana that I definitely want to touch on. But as this episode of Recyclist is going live, you're actually having fun out in Vegas right now. You're at the recycle materials expo in Las Vegas right now, currently, correct?
I am, yeah. They are an organization that we've partnered with, REMA, and we have a lot of similarities. And they've invited us to be part of their safety pavilion. So we are here and we are exhibiting, talking about our safety initiatives, but certainly there's a lot more power coming together being in this pavilion and all really making sure that we're bringing people home at the end of the day to their family and their friends. That's what's really key. So a lot of power in this, and it's great that REMA has brought this together. Rima was also part of our event, Archon, in the fall, and you can see this collaboration and partnership between the two events in person, but certainly it's all year round. It really helps us on the policy side, the advocacy side, where there's alignment, and helps move the industry forward more if we can be together on certain issues versus one organization going it alone, right? I think we all feel that whenever we're in a group together.
And obviously, the safety aspects, the safety initiatives were a huge talking point for a couple of my interviews so far this year. I spoke with Kristen about them, and I spoke with another guest that I had previously on Recyclist, Mr. K. Scott Griffith, who you all are, of
Yeah.
course, very familiar with at this point. So, what are going to be the talking points and the takeaways from your exhibit and your presence at REMA this year?
Yeah. So certainly for us, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, which I'm sure they mentioned, the collectors is that fifth most dangerous job. And we don't think about that when the people are picking up our trash and our recyclables, that is the fifth most dangerous. I think most people think about firefighters or police and being on top of that list. And so we are on that top 10 list. We have been for several years. We were fourth last year, so we're making some progress in the right direction to now be the fifth most dangerous job. And we really want to communicate the need and the necessity for exponential change in how we are leading and developing that culture of safety. All the posters and all the tactics and all of that are really important, and we need to keep doing that. But we need that mindset, and we need to create that culture of trust where employees are talking about safety moments, maybe talking about near misses, maybe talking about like different ways, like, what if we did this? I bet we'd be safer. And all those types of things can really, I think, make a difference going forward. So those will be some of the key points, as well as all the variety of resources Swana offers. So Swana offers like safety tips and tricks, which is a compilation of what it sounds like, tips and tricks that members have pulled together in the safety area. And we put out in Safety First issue weekly on Sundays, and some of those tips came from there. You get 52 issues of this, but it's nice to have some of that together. And we're going to be pushing that. We're also going to be pushing some of our other resources. We do have a pledge that we encourage individuals to sign. It's on the honor system. We don't take it back, but it's the 5 things that you're going to pledge to do. And we really encourage the people to have their entire staff sign that, put that up in their office. If they're driving a truck, do that. We are also going to be plugging some of the safety initiatives that are underway in the specific areas, right? So I'm sure people have been talking to you about the batteries and the fires at landfills and MRFs and collection and transfer stations. We have a lithium ion battery working group there. So we're constantly thinking about what new ideas can we do? What can we put forth going forward there? So we really want to make it known that we are a leader in this area and a collaborator with other organizations. That's why we're at REMA, very important there. And make sure that people know they can come to us. We're a hub, a source of information for these things. So for their drivers, their operators, the management, the supervisors, we can be there for them.
Yeah, I know the batteries was a or has been a big talking point in terms of
Yeah.
safety. It's something I spoke with Mr. Griffith about. It's something I spoke with Kristen about.
Yeah.
Just in terms of some of the weird things that you wouldn't think of, and my mind always goes back to, Scott brought up the little greeting cards that you get, the little battery
Yes.
operated singing greeting cards,
Battery.
and Kristen brought up like the fly swatters, like electric fly swatters. Like that blows my mind. I've gone back to it several times in interviews, but it's still crazy to think about to me. So I'm glad that information is getting out there now, because like little things like that, if we can prevent even just a few more fires here and there. I know you guys are really trying to move down that list of most dangerous
Yes.
occupations. I spent some time in the Army, as you're well aware, and a lot of the stuff that I see within the waste industry does kind of remind me of a lot of the stuff that I saw in the military, because there's so much heavy machinery, so many large
Yes.
vehicles, and there's so much toxic stuff that you're working with. There's so much inherent danger there that I think a lot of people don't even realize, and maybe a lot of people within the industry don't really realize.
Yeah. Even like on the landfill with the methane detectors, right? They should all have that detector for methane, natural gas, everything like that, and be wearing that and take that very seriously. And so everything along those lines, certainly the drivers is on that list, but that our entire industry, right, as you said, just want to keep making a difference there. And my family and friends know, especially when I see someone like with their shoes light up, there's a battery in there, and now they just go, "We know, Amy, we know what to do. You don't need to tell us again. We've got it." I'm like, all right, we're making a difference there, because before, taking this job, we didn't know, at least my friends and family. So if I can keep making like a difference with each person I touch and share that, I mean, that's going to go a very long way to think about exponentially how many people they're telling, and the magnification of that will be really great.
I like the idea of the children's shoe, like the little novelty light up children's shoes
Yes.
too, because I'll see little lights or little electrical things on little novelty items, and I can't help but think now is like, oh, that's battery operated. There's a battery in there. That's potentially dangerous now. I think Swan has kind of ruined looking at anything electrical for me now, because I'm thinking about the potential danger that it could have. But it is, again,
Yeah.
I'm very glad that a lot of that information is getting out there. And for anybody listening to this, if you want to hear more about that, once again, I recommend checking out my interviews with K. Scott Griffith
Yep.
and
Yep.
Kristen Oldendorf. But I didn't bring you here to grill you about safety. There's so much else going on within the world of Swana that I want to talk about. Obviously, you're doing REMA this week as this episode is going live, but even though it's still months away, Archon for this year is, the planning for that, I imagine, is in full swing. What can you tell us about any of the new updates, or any of the new information about what people can expect when they come to St. Louis later on in 2026?
Yeah. Well, we're super excited about Archon, year number 2 of this event, which is really, really fun. And we are continuing some of those same principles that we had when we were building this, that we want to continue to take member feedback, attendee feedback, and make the tweaks and make the changes, so that we're continuing to enhance the experience for those when they get on site, which is really, really important. And so we've had direct feedback from all the way. Like certainly on site, people are telling you things, but we're even doing focus groups now. And because people might have gone to new events, they might have had new experiences. Tell us what you like. Tell us what we can do. So there's going to be some changes underway with the schedule, some thinking about how we're interacting and engaging a bit, especially with young professionals. So we're excited about that. Some of the feedback we got was that they loved the energy combined with the informative experience. And so they weren't expecting that. We had some people who were new to the industry and they were like, telling their family and friends, I'm going to a solid waste conference. And they just thought it would be, I don't know, maybe just a little more like lecturing and like sitting in sessions. They didn't expect this energy, this momentum, this, kind of like thread throughout the conference where it was combining like, let's learn a lot, but let's also get to know each other. Let's build the connections. And that's really important going forward. Exhibit hall is close to selling out. Can't believe it. For year two, this is fantastic. It's going to be roughly about 215 exhibitors this year. That's about what we had last year. So that's what the size is. We are planning some new stuff in the exhibit hall. There was so much hype over the pickleball. I'm not sure if you got to play
The
last
pickleball.
year. It was quite full, the court. We're going to have two courts this year, which I think will be really fun. And we're going to also have some disc golf, like to practice, because we're going to have one of our tours be disc golf this year. So we're trying to bring in some new experiences onto the trade show floor. 90% of attendees said it was a good use of time being at Archon year one. So we want to keep that 90% and go up from there and make it even a better use of time. So how do we take the exhibit hall sessions, tours, and thread that needle again, keeping some of this feedback we heard, like we love the energy, we love the information, the peer-to-peer exchange. We want to keep all that alive again for Archon 2. And each city we go to is different, right? Columbus was fantastic. St. Louis, we were there last month, and it's going to bring a whole different vibe and energy, and we want to seize that. We want people to get to know the local culture, the local food. So we're looking at a lot of venues for evening events so that people can experience Columbus and not just be in the convention center or the hotel, right? We want them to be able to have the food and the cuisine and give out our recommendations of where you should go. I think everyone knows in St. Louis, the Arch, right? The Arch, like that's just like quintessential, but there's a lot of other things there. And one of the things I'm excited about is the City Museum. I don't know if you've heard about it, but
No, I'm not familiar.
they repurpose and reuse things that people don't want anymore. And it is amazing what they do with it. I don't want to give too much away, but I'll give one thing away. They took old like bread pans. So think of a bread pan, like typical metal,
Hmm.
someone was getting rid of them. They made a whole wall of them. And when you first look at it, you're like, is that? I don't know if that is because it's so artistic and creative. But the whole museum is like that. So I don't want to give too many things away because otherwise, people won't be surprised going through it. But if they could get their hands on something and figure out how to reuse it, they did for railings, for the floor, for slides, for you name it. It's there. So that's going to be a really fun experience for people to go to. And we're excited that that is there because it goes to our principles, right? Of sustainability, reuse, repair. Those are words that we cling onto for Archon. Certainly the R being resource, most important there. So very excited about it all coming together for Archon 2. We have a lot of planning to do, but those are some of the highlights that we've been making sure we get the member feedback and enhance that experience going forward.
Yeah, I know at Archon this past year in Columbus, there was a beautiful art exhibit that was up there at the exhibit hall floor that I spent quite a bit of time looking at, and a lot of that was recycled items and art through the reuse of just kind of tossed away knickknacks and things like that. So yeah, that museum I think would be really, really interesting to check
Yeah.
out. Obviously, the exhibit floor was massive last year. It felt like an entire city practically once you open those doors up. So it doesn't surprise me at all that it's going to be the same this year. But I've never been to St. Louis to see the Arch. I am excited to see the Arch. I'm also excited to maybe play a little bit more pickleball. It is good that it's not just because there's a lot of information. There's a lot of stuff that's you know good industry networking, a lot of information that people are going to have access to, but it is important to also kind of take a step back, loosen up a little bit, take things seriously, but sure, yes, allow yourself to have a little fun. I know one of my colleagues, Teresa, who is one of the most straight arrow people that I know, very mission focused when it requires, but she saw the pickleball court and it was like a switch flipped on for I don't think I've ever seen her that way in my entire life. So that was really fun.
Yeah, that's what we want to bring. It was a young professional who said in a focus group previously that they do come to, a conference, so Archon, for that content, the technical, to meet people, but they're also coming for those experiences and what makes that memorable. And so if we can create those within Archon versus having to leave the Archon space to go out and get that within St. Louis, the all the better, right? And so that's what we keep thinking about is what can we bring in. There's a lot of brands that are headquarters there, and the brands are creating the products that our members are dealing with at the end of life, right? So, what connections and what partnerships can we do there as well? They have a new soccer stadium that was built with sustainable principles, so we're hoping that we can tour there. And then, of course, the St. Louis Cardinals. So I've already had members say to me, they need a good season this year, Amy. Like I have some control over the St. Louis Cardinals season, but I'm going to do the best I can, put all this positive energy towards the Cardinals because it would be the postseason when we're there,
Oh
if
yeah,
they
that's
make
true.
it. So that would be exciting to be in the city for that. And of course, maybe catch a game if they did make it that far. So this baseball season has started. I'm putting it forth right now for all the members because people have asked me about it, that we are going to do our best as Swana with our energy and our effort in the universe, positivity for St. Louis Cardinals out there. Either way, we're going to try to do a tour. One of our corporate partners, our brand new corporate partner since we spoke, WM,
Yes.
does work with Major League Baseball. And so we're going to be working with WM and Major League Baseball so that we have a tour of the stadium. Of course, if they're in the postseason, it might complicate things, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to move forward and get that tour. We do know our members love to see the behind the scenes of especially a sporting venue, right? And how they are handling the waste and the recycling and composting, hopefully, as well, in all of those areas. So we've had success with that in the past at events. So that's something that we'll be doing again with some support from the new corporate partner, WM.
Yeah, I know that uh obviously there was a lot of tours and a lot of events in Columbus that we got to enjoy. I do think that's a great idea because a major league baseball or just a professional sports team in general, the level of operation that's at, especially for a home game, waste operations for that must be absolutely fascinating, especially given all the concessions that a place like that goes through just in the span of a few hours. So I do think that would be
Yes.
really, really interesting. Too bad Yachty and Albert Pujols had to retire already,
Yes,
so that
I know.
even if the
I
Cardinals get
know.
to the postseason, we won't be able to see them. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if we can do some type of tour with the Arizona Cardinals, maybe we can get them to show up. And I don't know. I'm just throwing weird stuff out there, but I know that I'd be willing to bet I know who brought up the idea of the disc golf and adding that to uh, the
Oh,
the
really?
the operation. I spoke to a young professional, a Swanee young professional, last year by the name of Christopher Teves, who talked
Oh,
about
yes.
like
Yes.
the the disc golf course that I guess they have over at his operation. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was the one who brought it up for Archon this year. But I've never tried disc golf myself. I want to try it.
I have not either, so I'm hoping it fits for me to go on the tour. If not, it's something to try on the exhibit hall floor, right? And to try it out. I've certainly been on a hike or a walk and seen the disc golf and people playing it, but I have not yet. And you know what? That's just so wonderful too. Pickleball. I'd never played pickleball until Swana had it on the trade show floor either. And such an opportunity because I seized it, took advantage of it, and now I can talk about it with other people. People are like, "Do you want to play pickleball?" It's a thing that I've added, and that's all because of that opportunity Swan has given me. So when you think of the conference, right, it doesn't need to just be like we're coming to a session and we're doing these things. It can be additional things added on, which I think is great. And you know what, Eric? Someone even described Archon last year as a rock concert and the energy of it and the excitement. And I think, in particular, the general sessions with the music and the lights. And we had some fun items with the keynote speaker, too, where they had to fling like I don't know, a little like spaceship or like rocket thing in the air at the keynote. And when you think about like live music, like whether that's rock music or not, but what do people love about live music, right? It's a commonality, it unites them. They dance a little bit, maybe they feel that community feel, but there's something that gives them like that little rush, right? Or that aha, it might be words in a song that they really resonate with. It might just be the voice. It might be the instruments, right? And when you think of that in a conference, that's what we're trying to do too, right? How do they get something that they're like, aha, and they've taken it home with them and it's really, really memorable. And so I love that someone suggested that, and unpacking it a bit is like, okay, let's take those core principles out and try to apply some of those to Archon going forward. Different way of thinking, right? That conferences can be like fun and exciting and more than just that educational element.
Well, I think that adding stuff like that, if you go to a conference or you go to some type of event and it's only PowerPoint slides and rows of chairs, dress right dress, the rigidity of it, I think, does something to people's brain, and I don't think the well, the I don't want to say like the corporate blandness of it, but something about that rigidity and something about that kind of stoic, stone fast, this is how everything is going to be, no room for left or right, no room for lateral thinking. I think that kind of turns people's creativity and turns people's there's no looseness there. And I think that the looseness that fun little activities like pickleball and live music and disc golf can bring allows people to just kind of stretch out, relax a little bit. And I think that's where you're going to find the best work being done, is once people can feel comfortable there. They don't feel like they're just there holding their binders with their
Mm,
legal pads and their pens. They can actually get comfortable, sit down, think, network, and produce something and actually do some good work there.
yeah.
So I'm excited to see how people interact with that. But I absolutely need to talk to you. You've already kind of opened the floodgates here. Yes, you recently spoke about a new partnership with WM, which is, of course, a huge, huge deal. I think there's a lot of people, frankly, out there that may not be super familiar with Swana, who might just expect an organization or a company like WM. I've talked to a couple people that just kind of thought that Swana was an extension of WM, such as their omnipresence throughout the waste industry. So the partnership of Swana and WM, I kind of feel like is peanut butter and chocolate. Why didn't it happen sooner? But why did it happen now? And what do you guys expect from this partnership moving forward?
Yeah. I'm so glad it's happened. I'm so glad that we have this formal partnership and this additional collaboration. certainly with WM, we'd been collaborating, getting insights on advocacy, policy issues. They're active in our technical divisions, our chapters, things along those lines. This corporate partnership, which is a year round support for the organization, so 2026 elevates that. It brings it all together, it's collective, it really makes sure that we are working together in a concerted effort, right? We maybe had done it before, but it was informal. It was just because maybe that's the type of people we are, right? And so this is fantastic. And they have said we're going to support SWANA all year round. And that enables us to do more for our members, deliver greater benefits and greater value because of this support, which is just phenomenal and so appreciated. So they are helping, and they did help largely with safety in our safety workshop that we held in Washington, D.C. And I know you heard a lot about that from Kristen. And the safety workshop was really trying to, what you just said, be creative, be developing, not just have it be PowerPoint slides, have people start to think out of that box for that blue sky of what safety could look like, safety leadership could look like, safety culture could look like. And WM was a partner for that event and safety overall for us, which really truly makes sense for their footprint throughout North America. We're throughout North America. It's really going to enable us to do a lot more going forward. They're going to be at Archon, have a greater presence at Archon, which is fantastic, exhibiting and sponsoring. They're going to be sponsoring one of the keynotes, which will be added value to attendees in terms of the type of speaker we bring in, the content, everything along those lines, which is really fantastic. So we are working also on like tours, different things like that. We just got to tour their new MRF in Elkridge, Maryland, which had opened last year. I didn't get to go to the opening. So instead, we went a few weeks ago, private tour, which was fantastic. I think it's 22 optical lenses they have there throughout. And so we really are like getting to also see their facilities and have a better understanding of their operations. And the more we can understand that and how they're working with municipalities and on the government side, the better we can bridge that public-private partnership, as well as deliver more resources to the members and the community overall. So I'm glad that this is here this year. 2026 is the year, and I only see it going up from here.
But yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens with waste management and continued partnership between both of you. For those who may not be super familiar with the term, you said you went to the MRV, that was the Material Recovery Facility, correct?
Yes, sorry. I'm glad you were clarifying that. Yeah, for people who don't know. So that is where, we were seeing all the recyclables come. And so it's in Elkridge, Maryland. But even where I live in Fairfax, Virginia, my recyclables go there. So I was like, oh, I'm seeing part of like what happens after it gets collected at my curb. So it was really neat to probe a little bit more and understand about my waste and my recycling, in particular, right? Typically, I'm traveling around North America and I'm hearing about everybody else's, what's going on locally. So this was such a treat for me to be able to see that and it actually relate to me.
And I definitely want to touch on another major thing that you guys have going on over at Swana, and that is this huge initiative, kind of bringing up the next generation. There's a lot of stuff going on, helping out, these up and coming young professionals. So you have specific young professional events. You've got a scholarship program going on right now. You've got a brand new design contest going on right now. Kind of talk to me a little bit about the next generation of swans or swannies or
I love that.
whatever they're
Swaners.
called. Swanners.
So, one of our core principles, in addition to safety, sustainability, is training that workforce of the future and making sure the workforce has the skills they need on a day-to-day basis, but also on the trends, right, and what's coming. So part of that certainly is who's coming up, right? And most of the people I talk to have fallen into this industry. It's not something that they have set out to be like, I'm going to be an engineer in the solid waste industry. There's a few I've met who have been like long time, awesome. But a lot have just, fallen into it. And so, what more can we do there is at the beginning of it. But now we do have a bunch of young professionals who are part of this organization. They have a group that they meet monthly where they're doing a lot of activities. And the activities sometimes are for, yeah, we want to talk to other young professionals. We want to support other young professionals. But a lot of times it's that they want that mentoring and that support from others who have experience in the field. Some might have come in and they're doing recycling, but they want to move to landfills, right? Or vice versa. And we can be and serve as that hub for it. So young professionals have a whole webinar series coming up. Actually, while we're here at REMA, there's actually one happening, which is pretty cool, supporting young professionals and that career path. But they're going to have 3 or 4 over the next several months. In addition to that, at the end of next week is the student design competition. And so we go out to universities and who have programs related or in the field. And we look for students to get together to solve like a real world problem. So every year it's different. And we have 4 universities this year participating. And the students are working on this problem statement. I'm going to read it to make sure I get it correct. AI driven route optimization and hazardous waste sorting for municipal solid waste management. So, on the municipality side, right, the government side, how can we optimize the routes using AI and have that equate to hazardous waste, right? So, what were we just talking about? The batteries, right? That's considered hazardous waste. Also, paint would be oxygen tanks, compressed propane tanks, right? Vapes, fire, ammunition, hazardous waste. Right now, what do we have to do with that? We have to take it somewhere, right? We don't get that picked up or whatnot. So this is a problem statement like, could this happen? What would this look like? What would AI? That's many different things. So they need to look at different routing for collections. What would be the contamination associated with this? And what are the budget constraints, right? I'm sure it's not the sky's the limit that we can do whatever we want to make this work, especially since this is for municipalities, right? So they need to think of all these things and then they present a presentation solving this. So cool, isn't it, to think about? And so the ceremony is on April 17th, and it's open to anybody to attend to congratulate these students. They put a lot of work into this, months to figure this out and to equate, all the different criteria and everything that should go into it. So we want to make it a huge celebration. Students are complimentary to be part of SWANA, so they become part of SWANA, and then they're in the loop about new jobs and opportunities from there. In addition, this year, we're working with several of the chapters where the universities are based. Our chapters have conferences to see if they can present what they have presented as part of the competition, right? Or be part of the conference, right? Like that's the best way to get them involved. If we want the next generation, we need to ask them. We need to say, hey, can you come? Do you want to come to this? It's a choice, but let's ask. If we don't ask, we never know, right? So we're also working on that too. The scholarships, a lot of the young professionals might have a financial hardship and not able to come to ARCON. So We are working at the SWANA level, the international level, but also with our chapters to offer scholarships for young professionals. And we're doing that now so that we can come out with the list. Like, these are all the chapters offering scholarships so the young professionals know and that they can apply for that to be able to come to ARCON. We want the net to be as wide as possible and as many people to come experience what many of us did, including yourself, for ARCON 1. So we're trying some different approaches there, but it all goes with that sense of that premise of what can we do to train that workforce of the future, have the succession planning. It does come up a lot. Like, I've had employees for 30 years, 40 years. What am I going to do? Right? How do you get that experience in people coming in after? And SWANA can help do that and really bridge a gap going forward. So, more effort, more emphasis will be put towards young professionals and what we can do there because the workforce needs it and we need to get them ready for it.
Yeah, I think, well, it's certainly been a long time since I could be described as a young professional,
Me
but
too.
but when it comes to, the next generation, a lot of people outside of this industry may be shocked to learn just how many advances and how many new technologies and how many new ideas have been brought to the waste industry just since the turn of the millennium, just in the past 25 years or so. This industry looks vastly different than it did a couple
Yeah.
decades ago, especially with all the new extended producer responsibility laws and this idea of renewable natural gas and landfill gas being used to now power much of what's going on in America, and this idea of net zero emissions and circular economy just in the past couple decades and how much that's advanced. So it's I don't think it's inconceivable to think that there are some people out there right now thinking about potentially pursuing a career in this industry who may one day unlock the ability for a true circular waste
Yeah.
economy. I think that's achievable within potentially our lifetime, and it's going to be all these young people who are able to look at this industry through a filter that maybe we just so far outside the box that we can't even think of, all these incredibly creative young people coming up that may finally be able to create a true waste circular economy. So it's not just churning new people through the machine. It's not
Yeah.
just finding more cogs to add in once other cogs have become too worn out to work correctly. It is trying to find the best and brightest who are going to keep evolving this industry to the point where it's the waste industry is very quickly becoming much more of an asset than an encumbrance, even in the eyes of the layperson. Just with everything that's happened with the advancements in recycling and MRFs and things that you and I have talked about at
Yeah.
length already. So I'm really interested to see what ideas come out from these young people coming up in the decades to come. So having them brought in to the industry with all with arms wide open, I think is incredibly important.
Yeah, and the more we can do that. So we have 47 chapters at SWANA, and each chapter has a young professional representative, and they all get together. And so when you think of the geographic diversity, and you say like trash and recycling is local, like them talking and all like the exchange and at that level, that's like amazing to come together. And so we can be the hub. We have the chapters working on that, and they're also like being that extension to get the young professionals involved. And then we're our own circular, we're trying to keep them volunteering, part of Archon, part of the chapter events. So I do think all of that is possible. It's so amazing and refreshing talking and to these individuals because they're excited. They're excited about the decisions they've made as a career and to be in this profession and what's ahead and to soak it up, right? And of course, they like the new trends, right? In terms of the AI and using robotics and the methane detection and things along those lines. So I, you know, am working hard too with the chapters because sometimes they're so spread apart and young professionals want to see each other in person. What does that look like? And how do you do then the virtual and everything? So at Archon, we are looking at that young professional experience to up level that this year. That is a focus. We've been meeting about it, and we want to bring more to them, not just for each other, young professional to young professional, but also young professional to those more experienced in the field. We're going to do both and have both goals, I guess, served.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of because young people are so environmentally minded, especially today. I'm kind of reminded of a recent story of this crawling net on the ocean's surface that's cleaning up the ocean in vast swaths and removing thousands of tons worth of trash from the ocean surface, and the verve that I hear these young people talk about these advancements and working on these
Yeah.
projects with, and being able to in their mind like really save the world and really bring a tangible difference to the environment and the world that they live in. It's really heartwarming and wholesome to see how genuinely excited they get about a lot of this stuff, and a lot of the ideas and a lot of the advancements within this industry. I see a lot of that same verve, and I see a lot of that same excitement from a lot of the young people at these conferences.
Yeah.
So again, maybe that person is out there who can really help
Yes.
unlock the next level of solid waste.
I think
Uh,
so, Eric. I definitely think so. Yes.
but for all the stuff going on at Swana, for Archon, for the young professional stuff, where can people learn more about that, Amy?
So they can go to swana.org. That is the best place. There is a ton of information. We've been making updates on the website too for the navigation, easy to find. So you can see Archons on there. You can see where volunteering is if you want to get involved with SWANA. The young professionals are certainly up there. There's also a career center. So if someone is listening to this feeling inspired, wants to switch careers, or a student wants to get into the field, go to the career center. You can check out jobs that are posted. You can also post your own resume there that employers can look through. So a great resource there at swana.org, SWANA.org.
And Archon this year is set for the end of October, beginning of November in St. Louis, correct?
It's actually September 29th through
Oh, so
October
end of September,
2nd.
beginning of October. I
Yeah.
apologize. I apologize.
Yeah, we're a little earlier this year. And same when we're in Portland, Oregon in 2027, we're at the end of August, September 21st through September 24th. So moved up a little bit from where we were in Columbus in terms of the year. So it's good to get those dates out because we're at a different time pattern. Last time being closer to Thanksgiving in the United States. But yeah, September 29th through October 2nd.
Awesome. Well, for anybody out there listening, make sure to check out swana.org for all of that information. If you know a young person who could benefit from a scholarship, make
Yeah.
sure to check that out. And if you are a young professional potentially looking to get into the industry, make sure to check them out for all the safety workshops that I've been able to speak about with you and Scott and Kristen. That's all
Yeah.
there. Just a wealth of information available right now at swana.org. Check it out. Amy, thank you once again for
Thank you,
joining us
Eric.
here
Thank
at
you.
Recyclist. I mean, we've talked at length, and I feel like there's still so much more that we could get
Yes.
into, such as the never-ending cycle of busyness that you guys are handling over at Swan. I honestly don't know how you do it, because just the conversations that I've had with you and Kristen just over the past month or so feels like my head would just spin right off the top of my neck if I had to deal with all that. So I commend you
Thank
all
you.
once again. Thank you for showing up. I look forward to seeing you again as soon as possible.
Yep.
If not sooner, then I will absolutely be seeing you later on this year at Archon in
Yeah.
St. Louis. But thank you once again for joining us here at Recyclist. Maybe we can make you a four-timer
Yeah,
sometime in
that would be
the near
wonderful.
future. But once again, thank you to the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of the Solid Waste Association of North America, Amy Lestition Burke, for joining us one last time. Thank you, ma'am. I will see you soon. And for everybody listening to Recyclist, make sure to check out swana.org. But after you do that, make sure to check out Diamond Scientific. They are, of course, the the company behind Recyclist. Make sure to check them out online at diamondsci.com. That's diamondsci.com. You can also set up a personalized presentation just by calling 321 223 7500. I've been your host, Eric Provost, and we will see you back here next week for another brand new episode of Recyclist. Thank you.